On the 7th of May 1989, it was claimed that a South African Air Force fighter jet had shot down a UFO over the central Kalahari Desert, which is located in central Botswana, a landlocked country in southern Africa. It is part of the Kalahari Basin, the world's largest continuous stretch of sand, stretching from the Orange River up to Zaire. It was also claimed that the UFO was undamaged, and there were 2 occupants inside the craft that had survived. The 2 aliens, along with the craft, were then taken to a South African Air Force base, and a few days later, a team of experts from the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio arrived and took the UFO and its occupants back to the United States amid very tight security. Information about the crash first came out when a man from South Africa called Henry Azadidel arrived in England and contacted a UFO organisation called UFOS. He gave them the names of officials and scientists from both South Africa and the United States that had been involved in the event, and in order to give his evidence credibility, was prepared to undergo a lie detector test. UFOS were later contacted by another man called James Van Grunen, who gave them documents addressed to a South African intelligence officer on a letterhead marked Top Secret, which described the incident in detail with the following. At 13:45 on May 7, 1989, the South African Navy frigate S.A. Tafelberg transmitted to the naval headquarters in Cape Town a message about a UFO that was recorded on the frigate's radar screens and was flying in a northwesterly direction towards the African continent with an estimated speed of 5,746 nautical miles per hour. The naval headquarters confirmed that this object was detected by aircraft radar and ground radars of the Air Force and the O.F. Malans International Airport in Cape Town. The object invaded the airspace of South Africa at 13:52. Attempts to establish radio communication with it were unsuccessful. The Valhalla Air Base was notified and 2 Mirage F-11 fighters were sent to intercept the object. Suddenly the object flying at high speed changed its direction of flight that would have been impossible for an aircraft. At 13:59, Squadron Commander Gozen reported that he was observing the object visually on the radar screen. The order was given to open fire on the object from the experimental onboard laser gun Tor-2, which was done. Squadron Commander Gozen reported that the object emitted several blinding flashes and lost stability, continuing to follow in a northerly direction. At 14:02, it was reported that the object was losing altitude at a speed of 3,000 feet per minute. The object was struck at high speed and crashed onto the ground at an angle of 25 degrees, 80 kilometers north of the border of South Africa with Botswana, in the central part of the Kalahari Desert. Squadron Commander Gozen was ordered to fly over the crash area until the object was captured and investigate the incident and retrieve the object. A group of Air Force intelligence officers with medical and technical personnel was promptly delivered to the crash site. The following was found: a funnel with a diameter of 150 meters and a depth of 12 meters. A disc-shaped object of a silver color crashed into the slope of the funnel at an angle of 45 degrees. Around the object was sand and rocks, which had melted as a result of strong thermal effects. Strong magnetic and radioactive radiation around the object led to the failure of the electronic equipment of the group. The head of the group decided to deliver the object to a secret Air Force base for further research, which was done. The disaster area was filled with sand and rubble to hide all traces of this incident. The hydraulic landing gear was fully extended, possibly due to a malfunction in the electronic system of the facility. This could also happen due to the firing of the Tor-2 laser cannon at the object. At a secret Air Force base, a group of researchers heard a loud sound in the object and saw a hatch in its lower part slightly open. The resulting gap was then expanded by researchers using mechanical equipment. From this hatch appeared 2 humanoid creatures in tight-fitting grey suits. They were taken to an improvised Level 6 medical center at a classified Air Force base. Various objects inside the facility have been taken for analysis, and we're still waiting for the results of the investigation of what was discovered. Due to the aggressive nature of the humanoids, it was impossible to get samples of their blood and skin. They did not eat the various types of food offered. The way to communicate with each other is presumably telepathic. Humanoids are being held in custody at a secret Air Force base awaiting the results of further research. A request was made to move both humanoids to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to provide a higher level of research, and were transferred on June 23, 1989. Descriptions of the aliens were the following. Their height was approximately 4.45 feet and their complexion was greyish-blue. Their skin texture was smooth and resilient. They were devoid of any bodily hair and their heads were oversized compared to humans, with prominent cheekbones. Their eyes were large and slanted upwards towards the side of the face. They had no pupils. They had 2 small nostrils and the mouth was a small slit with no lips. Their jaws were wide compared to humans and they had no ears. The neck was very thin in relation to human proportions. Their arms were long and thin, reaching just above their knees, and their hands consisted of 3 digits with webbed fingers and claws like nails. Their chest and abdomen were covered in scaly ribbed skin. Their hips were small and narrow, and legs were short and thin. There were no sexual organs. The feet consisted of 3 toes that were webbed with no nails. The incident was further discussed at a conference in England on the 20th of September 1989, where Henry Azzedidal actually addressed the audience along with Tony Dodd, who is a leading English alien investigator, where they provided additional information about the incident. Azzedidal claimed that the UFO had only one telescopic support extended. On the upper part, there was a sign in the form of an arrow pointing upwards under an arc. The Kalahari region where the object crashed is not a sandy open desert, but on the territory where farms are scattered. However, there are concerns over the authenticity of James Van Grunen, even though he insisted that the document was genuine. When they researched him, they found he was a UFO enthusiast who had joined MUFON, but other facts he had given appeared to be full of lies and forgeries, and in his defense told them that he was only passing on information that he was given. Yet in other aspects, he was totally credible. When Tony Dodd contacted a serving South African Air Force intelligence officer, whose name was given to him by Van Grunen, he confirmed that a UFO had been shot down and claimed to have photographic evidence of the UFO and its occupants. They also found out that when Van Grunen was in England, it was tailed the whole time. Tony Dodd was an ex-policeman and had spotted the telltale signs of being followed and knew what to look out for. Dodd claimed that he was probably being followed by South African operatives. So after all of the documentation that appeared both factual, but on occasions questionable, what do we make of what James Van Grunen had claimed? At times he seemed to be an enthusiastic 26-year-old UFO enthusiast with an overactive imagination, but on further research was backed up with credible witnesses.